Hello, my name is Simon Double, and welcome to Inside the Rails, a monthly podcast for horse racing enthusiasts everywhere. We're sponsored by the RSA, the Racehorse Syndicates Association, so as ever, a big thank you to them. And as ever, I'm joined by my co-host, Phil Boyle from BG Racing. Hi Phil, how are you?
Hi Simon, yep, very good, thank you. Just recovering from a lovely bank holiday weekend, and looking forward to the next week.
Did you do anything nice? Go anywhere?
I didn't do too much. I actually went to, a friend of mine did a jazz concert. He plays trombone and croons a few numbers. He did a jazz concert which was for charity, and I went to that on Sunday afternoon. So lovely afternoon, sitting in the sunshine listening to jazz. So not doing very much, but very enjoyable.
Excellent. I do like a bit of jazz myself, so I envy you. Now, Phil, I can't believe this. I don't know if you can, but we've reached episode 10. Can you believe that?
No, I was surprised myself when I saw it when we were putting the episode plan together, yeah.
Well, look, we've been really lucky to have had some great guests on. And this month, we're looking at another section of the sport as we look at the world of breeding. And it will be great to welcome Sam Bullard from Godolphin. Sam is Director of Stallions there, which is a very grand title. And of course, Godolphin, one of the world's best known breeding operations. And indeed, it does operate worldwide. So really looking forward to having Sam on the podcast.
Yeah, I am as well. I've really enjoyed learning about different areas of the industry. Some of which I knew more about than others, but and also I suppose this is a good opportunity to remind our listeners that all the previous episodes can be listened to at any time. Not much of our content is that time specific, so please do go and look on your podcast platform for all the old ones if you want to fill in the gaps of any that you've missed. And of course, as ever, if you can like us, follow us, or recommend us to your friends, that would all be appreciated.
Well, that's great, Phil. A good plug as ever. Look, we've got a few minutes before Sam joins us, so let's look back at the last month. Apart from listening to a little bit of jazz, what have you been up to? What have you been up to with BG Racing and the world of horse racing?
I've actually been to the races quite a lot in the last month, and definitely noticed that the crowds are back on the racecourses in force. So let's hope that's helping the courses to recover a little bit from the financial impact of the last 18 months.
Absolutely.
We had a runner at Nottingham, one at Bangor, one at Chelmsford. Yeah, Bangor, we had some great hospitality. Chelmsford was an experience. It was Ladies' Day. It was absolutely manic there. So
was it?
Hopefully they took plenty of money there. There was a Peter Andre concert after racing, so that proved very popular. And last Friday I hosted an owners golf day at Neil Mulholland Stable down in Bath, which was brilliant fun. And that's just another reason I think why ownership is such a great thing. You get that camaraderie with other owners in the stable. I was really delighted when two of the guys that I saw at the golf on Friday had a winner the following day, even though obviously it was nothing to do with me. And it was, just another reason why ownership, even of a small share, can give you so much more than just the days at the races. Have you had much racing this month?
You've been fairly busy at the racecourse. Since our last podcast, Dancing in the Woods has won again. Won at Newmarket on the July course, which was lovely. And he also ran on my birthday, 6th of August, but came third again back at Newmarket. He's not quite a standing dish there, but I think he's got a season ticket there at the July course. He's been running really well all season. So that was nice. Not quite the birthday present I wanted, but third wasn't bad. And interestingly, going back to the win, it was Joe Fanning, first time he's ever ridden for me, and what a lovely guy, and gave it a peach of a ride. So that was good. Onwards and upwards with Woody. I had a naming day for one of the two-year-olds I bought as a yearling last October. So basically, I get the owners, and this is a 12-share horse by a stallion called Tamayaz, and I get the owners to actually come up with a name each. And then it's a bit like an equine Eurovision Song Contest. They vote before the naming day on each name. And then we go to the stables, wet the horse's head with some champagne, and then go out for lunch. It was slightly embarrassing as I put forward a name because as I nearly always do, I keep a share in one of the Solari Racing horses, the syndicate horses. And so I put forward a name and voted on it. And for the second time this year, my name was selected. A Sharp Distinction. I was quite pleased with the name because Tamiya's is Arabic for distinction or distinctive. And the dam, the mother, is Pincushion, hence Sharp. The only thing I will say in my defence is that even if I hadn't voted, it did win by a long way. So I have got lots of happy owners, and we had a very long lunch with plenty of libation, and it was a really lovely day. The other thing I should mention, and I know, Phil, you'll be aware of this, is National Racehorse Week, which is September the 12th to September the 19th.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be missing the week, Simon, because I'm going on holiday at the end of this week, so I'm going to be away for the whole of the National Racehorse Week, unfortunately. That's bad calendar management on my part, but I know the Epsom trainers are all participating in the Epsom Downs Open Day, which I'm disappointed to be missing because that's been excellent in the past. And obviously, like you said, there's events all over the country, and there's a great website. If any of the listeners are listening to this, if you go to the National Racehorse Week website, which is nationalracehorseweek.uk, you can pop your postcode in there and it'll tell you all of the events that are going on near you. Most of them are free, and it certainly would be worth doing something because you really do get a look behind the scenes.
Well, I know that it has been very popular. As you say, there is a website there. I think a few of the trainers and yards are still open, but I believe it's been so popular that a lot of them are actually already subscribed. But it promises to be a really, really good week and great to promote horse racing to the general public. Now, Phil, there's been a lot of racing since our last podcast with the King George, Glorious Goodwood, Galway, York, a real summer feast of racing. As for highlights, surely there's been no more popular winner in racing recently than Lady Bowthorpe winning the Group 1 Nassau Stakes. It was the 5-year-old mare's first Group 1. Newmarket trainer Willie Jarvis's first Group 1, I think, in nearly 3 decades. And another first, a first Group 1 success for jockey Kieran Schumacher. So I think that has to be one of my highlights. Another one for me was Mishriff winning the Juddmonte International, which franked the King George win for Adayar, won by 6 lengths. Really, it was a bit of a romp. It wasn't a bad quality field either. So what about your highlights, Phil?
Well, yeah, you mentioned Adayar's King George win, and that was a big one for me. I always love to see the Derby winner following up and showing that the quality of that race was a good one this year. And yeah, Adayar's been a real sort of standard bearer for Godolphin, who we're obviously talking to later. But as a lover of jumps, I also enjoyed Galway. They have a cracking festival there, and obviously last year there was no people, and it wasn't, obviously the restrictions in Ireland are different from here, so it wasn't sort of one of those that was fabulously attended again this year, but the racing was still fantastic. And my trainer Neil Mulholland sent his horse Milkwood over for the Galway hurdle, and I was delighted to see him come second in that race to former champion hurdle favourite Saudier from the all-conquering Willie Mullins yard.
Well, I was just going to say that's a very good result. It's not easy to go into the backyard of Ireland and come placed in a big race like that. So well done, Neil Mulholland.
Exactly, yeah. And Milkwood's only a young horse as well, so it's great to see Neil getting some nice youngsters in the yard. A lot of his top horses have been on the decline the last couple of seasons. He had some really sort of top class horses 2 or 3 years ago, so it's great to see some new blood coming through.
Excellent. Now, the other new thing which has come along recently is the Racing League. And for people perhaps who aren't quite so familiar, it's a little bit like the Shergar Cup, where horses run in teams. They don't run in the silks of the actual owners, but they run in the team silks. Prize money has been excellent for these meetings. I mean, my thoughts are any injection of prize money has got to be welcome. There has been some talk, hasn't there, Phil, of maybe it's been a bit exclusive because I think the horse has got to be rated quite highly, and it's not being particularly promoted as well as some people think, and some people were a bit unaware of it, some owners and trainers. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I attended a meeting at Windsor a few weeks ago as a guest of Arena Racing, and the night was certainly well attended, and obviously anything that brings more people into racing will be great.
Absolutely.
Hopefully some of the people that even if they're coming along on a free ticket, they would come again. I know, like you say, some trainers felt they'd been a little bit excluded this year, and I think it'd be great to see some tweaks in the format next year to make it more inclusive. Maybe it could operate regionally to allow all trainers to be on a team somewhere. There's no reason why that couldn't work.
That's the thought, yeah.
And I mentioned at Windsor, I was at Windsor with Arena Racing. They invited a couple of syndicate managers to come along for the evening to discuss their offering to owners and especially syndicates. And it was great that the senior management team at Arena Racing were very keen to listen to our ideas, and that they've got a real willingness to consider options to improve the ownership experience. I had a similar meeting this month with George Hill and Steph Weatherhead at Lingfield, clerk of the course and the assistant clerk there, and it was great to get their perspective on how they work with owners. And one thing I didn't know, for instance, I don't know whether you were aware of it, but owners, I'm sure you know, can register on the racecourse pass system before the meeting, but you can also turn up on the day and just ask for your badges and go in if you own a horse. But Lingfield said they can do more for owners who register on the pass system, which is not something I would have considered. They know who's coming. They can make sure that the jockeys are made aware that the owner is there. They can make sure that the whole experience is delivered properly because they know how many people are coming, etc. Just not something I would have considered, and really interesting to talk to a course and find out how they use that kind of information.
No, that's very, very interesting. I must admit, I hadn't really used the pass system very much. In fact, I don't think I'd used it at all until the pandemic came along, and it has been useful. And it's interesting to know that there are some enhancements there to make it even better ownership experience and better and easier for the syndicators like you and me. So that's good news. Now, and it's also great that racecourses are really listening to syndicators. You and I have a passion which is shared by the Racehorse Syndicate Association to work in partnership with other industry stakeholders for the greater good of racing. We've talked about this in the past, haven't we, that there are many stakeholders with vested interests, but really for the good of racing they really have got to collaborate, and that's really good news to hear, Phil. Speaking of industry stakeholders, we now have another one on the line as Sam Bullard from Godolphin is here to join us. Hi Sam, how are you?
Simon, I'm very well indeed, thank you. Great to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Well, look, thank you very much for joining us, especially as I know you've just returned back from leave and this is your first day back. So a really big thank you, Sam. It's lovely to have you on Inside the Rails. Now, we always like to ask our guests a little bit about their story. So how did you get into racing and how did you get to work for Godolphin?
Well, it was all rather a long time ago now, Simon, I'm ashamed to say, but I don't have any family connection in racing particularly. I had a passion for riding and a passion for hunting, and I wanted to ride pointer-pointers and I wanted to ride winners, and I started doing a bit of that. Some of your listeners might remember Simon Sherwood.
Yes,
and when he finished in Newmarket to turn professional, I came to Newmarket to ride as an amateur and was fortunate to ride a few winners. And one day I told my parents that I quite enjoyed the game and wanted to stay working in it. I wasn't sure where I was going to go or what I was going to do because there were no flying start courses or national stud courses or anything else. And I bumbled along, ending up being a bloodstock agent buying and selling horses. And jumping forwards in about just before the turn of the millennium anyway, Dubai Millennium was carrying all before him, and Sheikh Mohammed decided he needed a proper stallion operation, and I was fortunately asked to come and start a stallion operation that didn't exist at the time, and so I have been doing that for the group ever since, which has been a real joy and unbelievably lucky to be sitting where I am now, looking after some of the greatest horses that have run in the last 20 years.
Okay, so you have quite a sort of grand title, Director of Stallions, and were you indeed the first Director of Stallions at Godolphin?
I was actually, yeah, I was. So it's very nice. I could write the story, and didn't have to. There was nobody telling me how we used to do it.
And for our listeners' benefit, really, and indeed mine and Phil's, what does a Director of Stallions do? What's the basis of the job?
The basis is not trying to market stallions within the company, because the breeding operation of Godolphin's own mares need to be managed differently, because managing stallions is about trying to get third-party mares to visit your stallions, obviously from a revenue point of view, because they pay when they visit them, but also trying to find mares that you seriously believe will benefit the stallion, and the stallion will benefit